Here at Carrington, where Ten Hag has been answering some awkward questions about the game before FC 20 tomorrow night, mainly around players having too many games to play. Didn't expect these sorts of questions to come about, to be honest. I was expecting more on the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Marcus Rashford. He did allude to them when certain questions were asked, but all in all, Ten Hag was just going over how important it is to balance his squad out. The main questions coming from the media today was that of too many games, what Rodri was saying. Now Rodri's out for a full season and the pressure on the players and everything like this, and adapting his team and what he has to do with the new Europa League setup. Big questions regarding how he sort of balances his squad out, rotation factors. Is he a fan of the new system? And it's like questions came up that said you could finish 24th in this league and still qualify. Does that sort of take the pressure off, or does it add more? Pressure on? If you make the top 8, you don't have the extra games. All of these questions were answered, and Ten Hag was in quite buoyant mood. He was feeling upbeat. He was answering plenty of messages about FC 20 from the Dutch media, which took an absolute age because of the translation, but they seemed to get a little bit more time than the British media did, actually, in terms of getting the right sort of questions across from Ten Hag and getting the answers from him. But the ones from the British media were a bit more brutal and to the bone, as you'd expect, quizzing him about Luke Shaw. That came from, it wasn't Simon Stone it came from, it was Simon Peach who asked the question about Luke Shaw again, and trying to pinpoint the return date for Luke Shaw, and it's sort of like an avoidance factor right now from Ten Hag. He just won't answer the question straight with Luke Shaw, and even enough everybody in the press box there and within the media knew that it was something that wasn't expected with Luke Shaw. Like, the injury came up and it wasn't something that happened at Carrington, so it's a little bit of a mystery factor going on with Luke Shaw and when he's back. But Simon Peach was asking, is it going to be when you expect Luke Shaw to be back on the training ground, or when you're expecting him to be back on the pitch? Obviously, if he gets back on the training ground, he's going to need a little bit more recovery time then to be ready. And he was just sort of sidestepping it again. I actually don't think they really know with Luke Shaw, is what I took from that press conference. And it's just going to take time for Luke to come back into this side. Do we desperately need him? A lot would say no. Mr Mazraoui was in there answering questions as well after Eric Ten Hag, and this new press conference format that they've got going out now, where it's first of all the manager and then a separate press conference to the player himself. But obviously the players that he's brought in, he was asked about that. He was asked about rotating players and keeping everything fresh, and how important the Europa League is, how important it is to win the Europa League, because there's no extra teams coming in from the Champions League. Is it easier to win the Europa League than it is to finish in the top 4 of the Premier League? And again, he sort of just skirted around the answer and really didn't give any sort of insight into how he feels about it. But that's what managers do, don't they? They get around certain awkward questions and try and spin a load of what the player's attitude needs to be and what we can do on the training ground to try and get around the amount of games, and then hopefully we can compete to the best of our ability in both competitions. But look, at the end of the day, we didn't expect much more from Ten Hag. He has a big affiliation with FC 20, obviously 23 years in his football career was taken by FC 20, and he said, to his credit, he said, look, I hate to hurt the ones that you love, but we have to do a job on FC 20, and it's important that Manchester United kickstart their Europa League campaign with a win tomorrow night against FC 20. So really nothing outstanding. Jamie Jackson from The Guardian asked a question around the toothless attack. Are you concerned Ten Hag didn't understand the toothless attack? And Jamie Jackson then just rephrased it and said, are you concerned that we just don't score goals? 5 goals this season, we're averaging 1 goal a game right now. Is that enough? And again, he said, look, if the players take their chances, we're not talking about this. It's a different conversation altogether. And United are a lot further up the league. United are doing a lot better. But you have to take your chances. You have to score goals to get the points. And United haven't done that. It was pretty much the response you'd expect. But again, like the obvious answer, the obvious questions coming from the media and trying to get down, and like it's sort of like trying to tempt Ten Hag into answering a question regarding Joshua Zirkzee rather than going right in on a player, because they know that Ten Hag isn't going to specifically talk about one individual player. It's sort of like trying to tempt him into talking about what his best forward line is. Garnacho missing chances. Joshua Zirkzee actually like underperforming for Manchester United in goals, but he's not. he's performing really well, and I feel like he is a different type of forward. That's my own personal one, but you're never going to get Ten Hag answering a question on that. You're never going to get Ten Hag answering a question on a player directly like that. So really, you've just got to look at how he's looking at this game of FC20 and then take it from there. All that matters to him is getting the win tomorrow night. He's not going to touch on anything else. I think the more brutal questions will come after a defeat, which we're not expecting. We're expecting United to win at FC20. On to Mazraoui in terms of how he answered his questions. Breath of fresh air, to be honest. I asked the question personally. Do you know that the United fan base is labelling you the player and the signing of the season so far after your performances alone? And he actually answered and said, look, yeah, I'm aware of what the fans are saying, which is good. The social media interaction is obviously big. He feels the reception from the fans. Not too different to being at Bayern Munich. Obviously, they are a very, let's just say, very sort of, what's the right word I'm looking for the Bayern Munich fans? They're a ferocious sort of fan base, aren't they? It is all about the football. It's a little bit different at United, but on match days he feels it, and he does actually acknowledge the fact that he is one of the fan favourites right now. So it is coming across that way. There is communication within the club, like the fans' feelings for these players. So for a new player like Mazraoui to be talking for the first time to the media and the British media, and to feel like the love coming from the United fan base was good. And he's just smooth operator. He's been there before. He's been at Bayern. He's been at big clubs. He was asked that question about being at two big clubs. He was asked about the connection with Ten Hag, and obviously other players like Matthijs de Ligt, who have played at Ajax and worked with Ten Hag before, the journey from Bayern Munich with de Ligt and him at the same time and all of that. And again, like the niceties that you'd sort of get in a press conference at this stage of the season. But really, nothing mega to come out of the press conference, apart from Mazraoui knows that the fans think he is the signing of the summer. I think that's the biggest headline. I'm not just saying that because that's the question I asked, but I think it was the most entertaining question anyway. And yeah, we're making the most of being here, and we're heading out to open training soon to see who's out and about on the pitch. Ten Hag said that there was no extra injured players coming back into the squad, so we're expecting a fully fit squad out there in open training, and we'll bring you them images later on. Please give the video a like, make sure you subscribe to Forever United TV. A little bit of extra content regarding the press conference from here at Carrington, where we were sat in and amongst it with everybody. First time for FUTV to get in and get access to a press conference. Absolutely buzzing with that. So thank you everybody for all your support and helping us get to this stage. Get your comments in below. I know you've probably seen the press conference. Let me know what you think.